I need a good intro. Yeah, this sounds good. It needs a good oomph.
Like, so the first podcast, like you were in, and that I have with the other two people, like the podcast is called ERP, right? So, but do you know what it means?
I have no idea. Wait,
I think I mentioned it. Yeah, casually starting. Yeah.
Okay, we started then. Thanks for not warning me at all.
Like, don't worry about
go
it.
ahead. What's ERP? What's ERP?
ERP,
Tell me, girl.
It's used in games, but more so like in this game, for obvious reasons. ERP means erotic role play.
Oh God, not this
Okay.
again. What have you got me into? Why
But
am I here?
in the podcast,
this
like that
purpose?
you're on, I called it ERP like as an acronym, but for the podcast it was called, I think, Escaped Radicals Podcast. For this one though,
Yeah.
this podcast is called DPS, and for the context of this game, DPS means Deep Penetration System.
Oh God, there is no
But-
there is no escaping from me being assaulted on that level.
But obviously I changed the name. It's still the same acronyms, but for this, I guess, podcast right now, the new one, DPS stands for Deep Pondering Saint.
That's good.
it's
That's
all-
good though. Actually, no, that's nice. That's nice.
Yeah. It's
But
just more. But
I do have to say, ERB also sounds exactly like the old school YouTube channel Epic Rap Battles.
oh yeah,
It's the exact same name. So
yeah.
it might help
I mean,
you with
look,
the algorithm.
Actually, ERP in a business sense stands for Enterprise Resource. I forgot what the P is, but something for business. Yeah.
Yeah, business terms. You know,
But
we
yeah,
have
I mean,
nothing to do with that word. We're not
ERP,
professionals.
DPS. It's marketing reasons.
Whatever tickles your pickle is what
Yeah.
I say in my line of work.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So what, you started the podcast and you're not going to introduce me?
أكيد لا. No.
How dare you? How dare you?
Look, people know you
I feel-
not by your name, not by how you look, but the characters and the history of your actions.
Oof.
Oof.
Yeah, that sounds like a guy who was never remembered in history. Sounds about right.
Look, you're okay.
Oh my God.
This is
This avatar is funny, actually. I didn't know you could do that. Oh, sorry.
Hopefully the.
You're alive.
I'm lagging.
You're alive.
Yes, I am alive, but I'm lagging like hell. It's because of this world that's not optimized. Oh well. I think the audio it'll be fine though. Though
no.
visually speaking, it's gonna be shit. Whatever. I think after maybe like 5-10 minutes it'll be fine again. Then the loop will start again and it's gonna become laggy. But yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, I think it's a texture streaming issue.
Yeah, I'm assuming. Yeah, maybe this one
So
has
if I
like a
turn
VRAM
off-
issue, a VRAM
Go
leakage
ahead.
issue.
Possible.
Yeah. But
So,
yeah. So you're Gara,
So-
right? What do you do?
hi. My name is Gara. I don't know why I was so excited for that. My name is Gara. I'm a video game artist. I have a YouTube channel here. It's called Wholesome Bookworm. Go subscribe to that. If you think you're subscribed to too many YouTube channels, unsubscribe from this one and go and subscribe to that one.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Freak would have no problem at all. This is how I steal your subscribers, by the way. And
Uh-huh,
that's it. It's a YouTube channel all about books and bookish things. It's not VR related. It's my face is plastered on a channel, but hey, VR is
Yeah.
cool. I might try something like this in the future.
Yeah, you can see his doxed face on that channel. He's not a pumpkin.
Sadly, I wish I was.
But why? I never really got into reading books, unfortunately. I've yet to read a book, like aside from like school reading.
Yeah, I mean, school kind of makes a lot of people hate reading books because in school they give you, for the lack of a better term, garbage material. And I think just alienate reading from a lot of people. So if you want to get into reading, I would ask you a bunch of questions. I'll try to get your taste in books. I'll recommend you something if you want. But hey, let's do that right now. Let's do that live. Like we're
Sure.
doing like a live test for you.
Yeah.
Okay. None of this was prepared, by the way. Okay, what's like your favorite genre?
Hentai. No.
Oh God. Well, luckily for you, the most popular books ever in history are all erotic romance books. So
Nice.
wait. Let's stick with this. Okay. Let me ask you more. What's your favorite theme? Like, is sci-fi, fantasy?
I guess I'm into medieval nowadays. Medieval fantasy.
Medieval. Okay, I'm gonna give you sci-fi. Because I can't think of a medieval horny romance.
Okay, medieval sci-fi. Somehow.
Okay, how about this? Oh no, I messed up my
It's fine.
seat.
It's fine.
How about this? There's a popular romance book called Coronavirus, My Love.
Wait, I think I've actually heard that one. Maybe from you, probably.
I think the title is not exactly that, but the premise is the main character, like coronavirus, turns into an actual physical person, and
Yeah.
the main character is really horny for the coronavirus.
Oh.
This is
The
a book that
forbidden
exists
love.
out there. Yes, and then there are other love interests that get involved in the story because there's other
Yeah.
strains of the virus. So there are other characters. They all get involved, and they all are chasing this girl. Yeah.
Corona
But-
Muhammad, Corona Abdo, Corona Jibril.
We were taking more like the actual branches of Corona that came up. Like, what were they called? I don't remember. Like those Greek names they started putting.
Yeah. I don't know. Okay, I mean, actually,
Excusez-moi.
I would think this kind of story would be like up the alley of Japan, not like a book.
I think you would enjoy it in a weird way. But you like medieval, you said, right?
Yeah, nowadays I've been watching a
It
lot
seems
of
like you-
medieval stuff.
It seems like you would be interested in something that's more fun and not serious all the time.
Let's say light, like serious but light-hearted.
I see. I have an idea. There are these books called light RPGs. And they're not RPGs. They're just novels, but the way they're described, it's the character constantly gaining powers like a video game and progressing. So I feel like that genre of books would fit your taste completely. I feel like that's what it
Okay.
would be.
So it's
Also-
called like RPG.
A lot of people, it's not an RPG, but it's the character in the story is almost progressing like a video game. It's gaining abilities. It's kind of the character's improving. It has this almost addictive form of writing that's becoming pretty popular lately. So I feel like that's something that
So it's
could fit
Dragon
you.
Ball the book.
Yeah, it's Dungeons and Dragons, the novel, basically by every mean possible, by every possibility. Yeah. So I have a
That's nice,
question.
actually.
A lot of people
Yeah.
A lot of people can't read books because they have like ADHD or something. Do you have such a problem?
No,
You do?
I have a medical term called laziness. No.
Oh, I see. I
Yeah.
see.
No. Here's the thing.
Well,
I have physical mangas, but so I read mangas, but not necessarily read books.
I mean, I used to read mangas, so yeah, no, mangas are fun. They're awesome.
Yeah.
Books are a different mood, you know.
Wait, so how? So what's the appeal? Like, so I know the appeal of manga because like there's all like 80% of it is visual, like characters, art, drawing, background,
Yes.
whatever. But so what's
Yeah.
so that's like the advantage over a book. But what's the advantage of what's the appeal of a book in comparison?
The advantage of a book. Yeah, so the advantage of the book, generally speaking, is that you can imagine the characters, scenarios, the worlds in your head. You can invent the visuals in your head, so you can
Yeah.
come up with a version of what the world looks like that not everybody else will see. That's not how they'll imagine it. So definitely in books, a lot of things are left for the imagination. So if you are a visual person, actually books are pretty good because the words will translate into visuals in your head. And also books are more open-ended, you know. A lot of the times events that happen in books require some type of further thinking to come up with a conclusion on what it meant, while comic books and mangas are generally more straightforward. What you see is what you get, but in a book things get hinted. Well, you could do the same with manga and comics, but just in a book there's just much more space for that. There's much more writing. So yeah, I guess that would be the appeal. Also, it's just, you know, reading a book can also be very addictive.
Yeah.
In the way watching an anime could be. You know, you always want the next episode. In a book, it's always you want to turn to the next chapter to see what's going to happen. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Would you say?
I would say that's it.
Like for those who cannot imagine,
Apologies.
because like there are people who don't, or like cannot like think of objects or think of worlds. They think sure they can think it like in a sentence, let's say, but they can't necessarily construct a world in their head. So would that, for those people who read a book, would they not see the value of it? So basically they would just be reading text. And
they wouldn't
imagining
see
stuff.
the value. Fair enough. Yeah, there are those people, and I don't think those people will find a lot of value from books. Definitely, you need to be somebody who's imaginative when you read a book. If you're used to visuals always being handed to you, and enjoyment of the book might be less. But this is a good question because I've never really thought about what makes reading so enjoyable for me. But it's also something inherent. Oopsie, I made a mistake. The button drifted.
You're like, it's very enjoyable, then you smack into me.
So it's very enjoyable, and then I went that way. So it also has to do a lot with childhood. Because I feel like a lot of the people who read books, it's a habit they pick up once they're kids. And I did definitely pick it up as a kid, you know. I read some pretty complicated stuff as a kid. Then realized it's not for me, and I went and read many other books to become better and return to those later in the future.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answered your question, but I actually don't know the full answer. I just know part of it.
I guess maybe people who like to enjoy reading books are the people who would like to, let's say, it's all about the imagination. So I'd imagine like reading a book is like a seed. So a book is a seed for you to imagine shit. Basically, I'd say that's the most appealing
absolutely
thing. Aside from
often the books. Often the books that are like the worst are usually books where the writer doesn't leave room for imagination. The writer just describes every single small detail for you, and those are usually the most annoying books because you're not leaving anything for us in the story. And also the other way could also be true, where it's like the writer describes absolutely nothing and it becomes infuriating because you don't understand the setting that you're in. And that has happened many times with me, where the writer doesn't describe something. And it's also happened where the writer describes every detail. Now there are many different types of readers. Some readers enjoy one more than the other. But yeah, for me, I'm somewhere in the middle. I would like both. Yeah, I would say that.
So in terms of like describing like the setting, like for example, like the world we're in right now, if it was a book and it's describing what we're doing right now, what would the sentence be that would be like just nicely in the middle?
Yeah, usually, you know, the things that are often described is you need to describe things that create a sense of mood and atmosphere. So writers usually in this scenario, they would describe that we're on a patio or we're on a balcony and the sun is hitting our face, and outside there's like these beautiful cherry blossom trees. I think there are, I don't know what they are, and there's like leaves that are dropping, and they would usually write prose. Prose is a style of writing in novels. That's usually all novels are written in prose. And people sometimes, like good writers, would have very nice prose where they would describe the leaves falling in a way that's never been described before, or in a way that inflicts a certain emotion within you, so you feel the atmosphere you're in. So the atmosphere we are in right now is cozy, general coziness, and the writer would want to use words that would inflict that emotion in you. So that's what a really good storyteller would be really good at, which is inflicting that emotion in you. Or
okay, so
I would say that
if it, like, let's say the book is being, or like we're reading the book of this setting right now, and this event that's happening right now, it would be written in a sense like the main character brought in his friend to talk about various topic. They sit in a balcony in front of very beautiful looking trees, and
less
where
robotic.
the sun is. What are you saying?
I would say that, sure. I would wait a minute. I would say yes, but less robotically, which is like they wouldn't just say I invited my friend to come and talk to me on balcony.
Yeah.
You know, not like that. It's like, you know, he came over.
The main
around
character
12.
lured his best friend into the balcony.
Lured. Now
he used a very alluring
sorry,
perfume to lure him in.
Depending on your genre, if you're writing a romance, yeah, those things are often used in romances.
I put at least a Bitcoin on the table to lure him in.
and then the character started crawling his way towards the balcony. Yes.
Okay. You mentioned your channel about reading books. That's the first thing you like, the first thing you pushed. But however, I know you're like the game dev stuff, the art stuff. Why are you pushing books instead of those?
I'm, working in the game dev industry for about exactly, like the other day I checked, it's been 9 years now. Like I've been making games for 9 years, and I've just had the last 3-4 years has been pretty negative, my experience in the industry. And I feel very burned out in many ways. And so that's why I kind of stopped my game dev YouTube channel, which is called Shroomcraft Games. We kind of stopped that because I felt burned out from this industry, the game dev industry, and just wanted to do something to get away from this industry. And books is something I grew up with. I've read books all my life, throughout every stage of my life, and felt like a natural thing to do because I just love that so much. I'm so passionate about reading and writing. I'm trying to be a writer now also, but generally speaking, when you get burned out from something, it's best to do something that will completely distance you away from that, and hey, picking up a book is not touching my computer anymore, so it's great because I'm sick of touching my computer.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we'll get to, you know what, we'll get now, like, why.
Apologies.
That's fine. Why did you get burned
sick.
out?
Just so people know.
What's the negatives that you've experienced the last 3 years that like pushed you, like, you know what, fuck game dev?
Usually management in the last 2 companies, even I would say last 3 companies I worked at, especially the last 2, management was pretty incompetent. They were not bad people. I could totally see how they're good people, but they were just in a field that they should not be in because they have no experience. And when you work with management like that, you often are expected. Your work is often not respected. And on top of that, they hire you for your professional opinion on topics, but they never accept your professional opinion on topics. It's always, they will do what they want to do, even though eventually it's always going to lead to failure because they don't know what they're doing. So it really bothers me when you hire somebody for their professional opinion and not consider their professional opinion during production. So this is a very common issue with indie game studios. So it reaches a point where you get burned out or you start performing at the level that you should.
Yeah.
And I've reached that part. I've reached a level where I'm like, I'm no longer performing the way that I should be performing. But then again, there's only a few months left in this company, so like I don't know if it's even worth pushing it harder. But this is definitely life-changing because I'm thinking in the future, should I go back to making games or should I just like quit this industry? Because there are some benefits on quitting this industry, which is, I mean, the first negative is you don't make good money anymore. But this industry makes good money. But the benefit of it is that I'm no longer burned out on making games, and I could start making games in my free time because I feel much more free to explore and take risks and do interesting ideas, which is what all game dev was about for me, you know? And in these companies you can't really explore and be creative anymore. Sadly, that is the reality of the situation.
I mean, to play
Sorry for the
devil's
depressing
advocate,
mood.
that's fine. We need the depression a little bit. Whatchamacallit? Like, let me play devil's advocate in these companies. Like, okay, let's say I hire you as a game artist and as a consultant as well to consult in terms of the game development process, how it's going. And I tell you, I want to make a fantasy racing game. And you're like, okay, then we need all of this art, blah, blah, blah. And I'll tell you, okay, go. What usually happens? And then I'll like, this is the scenario. And I'll be like the management or like the top. And I'll play their role. And let's see how shit things goes.
Yeah, I see. From my bad experiences in the last... So in the last 3 years in these companies, where my experience with this is, this happens all the time, which is I get given a role. They're like, go and make this or build this thing, right? Build this world, okay? Yeah. I'm like, okay, I do the entire research. I show to them what I want to build, okay? And I end up building that exact same thing. And then they're like, I don't like it. I'm like, okay, but you greenlit this, right? Like you... we're okay with this, and that's totally fine if you don't like it. That's normal part of the process. But then what happens usually is, do this thing that I prefer. I do that thing that they prefer, and they're like, we're gonna use this. Okay, awesome, perfect, job done, right? 2-3 months pass, and we're getting closer to the on release date, and the manager just walks in and is like, I hate all of this, redo it. I'm like, and imagine this being done for everything, like every tiny asset I need to make, every tiny thing I have to make. The manager just can come out of the blue and pull out a reason out of his ass and just say, you have to redo this entire work because I hate it now. I didn't hate it 3 months ago, but I hate it now, and I have to redo you have to do the entire thing. It's so exhausting. It defeats your sense of, you know, your willingness to work on this. It feels like you're wasting your time, because it is that.
Okay, that's like, so like for me that's very wrong. Like not in your perspective, but as well from my perspective, let's say I'm the owner of a company, and if this happen, if like a manager comes in and like did that, I'll be like, what the fuck? We're not milking money. That's one idea.
Exactly.
But another thing, let's say we are milking money. Let's say we have all the money in the world, and like I'm gonna say this, not that I have the stance, but to play devil's advocate. What does it matter if then I come 3 months later and tell you know what, I don't like this. We have the resources to do everything from scratch again. Start from scratch to do something that I like at the moment.
Two things. It
And
is
you're
a
getting
little
paid.
bit demotivating because you never. Yes. Well, here's the thing. In game dev, it's usually not all about getting paid. It's also progressing, and it is very demotivating when that happens 10 times over.
Yeah.
If it happens a few times, that's understandable. If it happens 10 times, in an indie studio, it's annoying. In AAA, you expect it actually, but in indie, it's always annoying. Now, if you have unlimited resources, I am much more okay with that because I'm getting paid, right?
Yeah.
And we're gonna do this 10 times over, so I'm gonna have a job for a very long time. So I would be happy. I would have no problem. But when I know the company I'm in right now has no resources left, has few months left for the game to release, and they're still asking me to change things the last second, it's an issue, you know?
Yeah.
So not only is it demotivating, you also can't afford it. So
Yeah.
I'm in a weird situation where I care much more about the finances than my manager does. And that's a
Yeah.
problem.
You care more about the finances in
You see what
this
I mean?
particular scenario because it's gonna affect you where like, okay, the game's not gonna come out. The game's not gonna come out, and as a result, when the money runs out, then there's nothing that will bring money in again because there's no game to sell. So at that point, you're pretty much worried that okay, I'm gonna be out of the job. Like 100%.
Yeah,
basically.
that is one aspect of it. And I don't want to speak more details. I don't want to speak in details, but for example, in the situation I am right now, my manager's livelihood is also on the line if this thing doesn't work out. So if
Yeah.
I don't put the effort to make this thing work, I feel guilty for his failure. And
Yeah.
and that's just not a nice situation to be in.
Yeah.
This is why I almost advocate for a lot of the creative team to not be involved in the financing of a project. In my experience, I feel like that has been much better, much more productive. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess one would say like sure, we're talking whatever right now, but I guess like any other companies right now, they would comment, well, why do you have to get involved with finances? You're just like the game artist or like the game programmer.
Yeah, fair enough. That is true for most companies. The one I'm in right now is not, where the management brings up money every 2 seconds. And they make us feel guilty about there not being enough money.
Yeah.
And I'm happy I'm talking to you about this because I'm kind of taking it off my chest also.
Yeah.
This has been an issue, you know, where it's like if you do not want your staff to worry about money, worry about financials, don't bring it up.
mention Yeah.
During every single second of your life. Don't mention it. Because it gets mentioned, and it gets mentioned in a way to make everybody feel guilty.
Yeah.
I don't want to bring up certain instances because it's very private, but it gets brought up literally every single day. It's annoying.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if that's happening, then yeah, that's pretty bad. I mean, if I was in the company I'm in right now, I'm a manager there, and I'm pretty like close with the CEO. So I literally, yes, I'm a manager, but I'm also doing like business analysis and development on the side. So basically, I get all the details from like, okay, what's the salaries of everyone, like what's the other expenses, and like what's the runway and everything like that. And then I try to optimize it as best as I can as a manager and as like the business development part. And I never have yet so far, and never will, mention any financial issues or even, let's say, legal issues to who's being employed there. And the reason being is,
Yes, honestly.
one, there's no point in them telling them because they have no authority. That's one thing. The other thing is, if there are issues and they know about it, they're gonna start, like, if I'm from my perspective, like as a company owner, let's say, or a co-owner, or just even a manager, if they start like worrying about the finances of the company or like hearing stuff about it, and especially if it's negative, they will start thinking, oh, I should like start finding new jobs and like not give a shit much about this product, or like the work they're doing. And like there's the efficiency of those who's working in the company will just go down dramatically, and the quality as well.
So true. This is 100% true. Also, like, the creative team does not need to know about any of these things because it will affect them negatively. Now, if let's say the financial situation is so bad that in a few months the company won't exist, you're going under, then it is your responsibility to give a heads up to the rest of the team and be like, hey, we have 3 months left, we have 4 months left, we have 5 months left for this project. Then I think that should be something that management brings up so people can plan their lives ahead. I think that's a good thing. Because a sudden surprise of somebody losing their job is a huge problem. That's what I would say.
I think so I think that's a fine line. So like if there's like a year down the line and there's like some financial issues, sure, you cannot say it, but let's say if there's like 6 months or below, then and instead of having that stuff leaked, and like then people start being demotivated or like start worrying about other stuff and the jobs and whatever, rightfully so.
Be honest about it.
Rightfully so, like they would be worried about it and start finding other jobs. Instead of that, having that information leaked, if you just like have a meeting with everyone and just say, hey, we might not make it as a company, we might like everyone's gonna be laid off after like 6 months, 4 months, whatever, and you tell them, I'm sorry about this is what it is, that's the reality, I'll try my best to make things work out, but just keep that in mind, and I hope, I mean, this is demotivating, but I hope you will provide your best in the last 3 months. And I think that's going to be, for the employees, that's going to be very respectable, and they will actually not down on their quality or efficiency.
No, 100%. That has been my experience. That has happened in a company I used to work at, where a few months, like 3 months before the company closed, they notified us. And we, on the contrary, those 3 months, we tried to make the best games we could. And by the end, when it was done, it was done. There was a company where I was let go of my position because the direction the company was going and the direction that my career and my skill set was going was so different. In this case, the company was going fully 2D and I was going fully 3D, and it just didn't work out. So they just didn't renew my contract because my contract was up for renewal. So they didn't renew my contract, but they gave me like 4 months salary. It was like amazing. They just gave me 3 months maybe or 4 months salary, and they were like, we're really sorry about this and we like you and we want to see you succeed. Here's a severance package where it's like you have a few months of money on the side for you to find, not to fall on your feet. And that was like the most awesome experience, like getting laid off. Like that was, I've never felt that comfortable in a situation like that. I have respect for that company because of that, for example. And some companies where last minute they told you they're gonna let you go are the worst companies, and I don't care, and I stop working and I leave the office and I go away. That has happened also before, by the way, where it's like a week before the month ends, they're like, we don't have money left, so you have to find a new job. I'm like, okay. I do nothing at all, and the end of the week I get that money and I leave. If you had told me way before, I would have respected the company more. Or the project.
Did they give you a severance package because they're cool, or did they give it to you because the country where they had to legally do it?
Oh no, not at all. They did it because they're cool.
Nice.
They did it because they care about people. And that was that. The country has no laws. The country I'm in right now has no laws for severance packages. I think it has other type of laws, but nothing that would give you 4 months of salary. That's ridiculous. Or 3 months or something, you know?
Yeah, I guess usually for countries that do have severance package as a law, it would be just 1 month.
Apologies. Oh yeah. Most companies are just like 1 month, and this company was just like a very successful company financially, so they just, they didn't. They were able to give me what I wanted. Not what I wanted. Yeah. They were able to give people who left the company a respectful amount and such. Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, so we talked about one. I guess maybe this is the major negative issue about working in a game dev company. At least in your experience, like it's all about the management issue, I guess, or like people not respecting the work or like the process of development at least.
The biggest issue with the video game development industry, and you see this every time, you see this even in large companies, the issue is always management or the marketing department. That's another problem. We'll discuss that later, but like the management is because here's the thing, when you hire programmers and artists, it is highly unlikely those people are not motivated people, because this is a very competitive field, and the programmers and artists you're hiring, these are people who have sacrificed thousands of hours of their life getting good at this one thing because they love it. They love making games, they love video games, they love art, they want to be the best they can be. But when you usually artists and developers are not lazy people. I found that it's usually management who demotivates the entire progress, and this happens because often more than not, the people in management were not the people who were artists and programmers. They're often people coming from the outside and coming from a more business-oriented mindset, which is important, but usually those people don't know how games are made, don't know how the creative process works, therefore they mess up a lot. And we see this happen in, let's say, for example, Telltale. Remember Telltale?
Yeah.
The company that made the Walking Dead games, they had the exact same issue. Somebody came from the outside, demotivated the entire company, overworked everybody, and their games started diminishing in quality. They didn't make enough money. The company closes down. This is very common.
Yeah, I mean, I'd imagine... since like I'm someone that comes from the outside that didn't like do game dev before, like from any talent, like artist, designer, programmer, whatever, they're a business person that started doing management for a game company. They don't know what's happening, they don't know the process or like the hurdles or whatever, so they just like, it's on the paper, it should stick on the paper. What the fuck are you doing? You're not sticking to the paper. But I'd imagine
I wish they stuck to the paper, because they're the ones who don't stick to things. Like, they're the ones who usually change things out of nowhere without planning, without consulting anybody. They change things. This is why you get so many games where it feels like the game has no vision, because there's different mechanics conflicting each other, because usually it's one of these management last minute comes in and they're like, I don't like this, change it up. And then you have to change it up because they're the management, and it results in horrible decision making. This has happened all the time. Saints Row is a good example of this, the recent one. There's just so many examples of this. I can go on and on and on forever.
Yeah, you're saying really that, and my mind went, from what I heard, my mind went immediately with Anthem from EA.
Anthem is a unique case in that.
Anthem is basically the pinnacle of this whole like topic, I guess.
I would say Anthem has another issue that most game studios don't have, which is EA is such a giant company that when they make a new IP, it's made in complete isolation from different departments. So you get different system mechanics and arts and stuff being done without proper communication. First of all, I want to apologize. I want to hook up a charger to this headset because it's going to turn off by accident. Because I don't know, maybe it didn't charge properly. Give me 1 second. Let me do this really quickly.
Sure.
Apologies.
While Gara comes back, I'll start singing the elevator music. Yeah, I don't wanna. I don't know if I'll cut this out. Maybe I'll leave it on. I don't know. It's fun.
The issue is the wire just is not reaching far away.
Yeah, look at that pumpkin ass. Wait, let me slap. Wait. Bam.
I'm really sorry.
Nah, that's fine. Look, I was slapping
done.
your ass.
Nice. Don't stop harassing me. I'm back.
Pumpkins have no rights.
No pumpkin, no right. No pumpkin, no right. Sorry. I'm back.
And he he left. I guess I have to quick edit this when he comes back.
That really got us out of the mood of the discussion that we were in.
Nah, that's fine. But yeah, okay, so
I'm trying to remember what the conversation was.
So the issue, aside from management, and we're saying Anthem was the pinnacle of that example, but then you mentioned the bigger issue with Anthem is that EA was so big and everyone's not talking with each other, and that's why all this mess happened.
Yeah, it's lack of communication, very corporate choice of a game also. It really feels like they didn't think about this too hard. I mean, it's such a generic, the art is gorgeous, but the theme is as generic as it gets. The storytelling was so basic. The mechanics so repetitive. There's nothing inspired. There's nothing risky about Anthem. The games that are making it in the world are taking major risks, either fully failing at it or succeeding it and just boosting their career forward. The best example of this is Alan Wake 2. Alan Wake 2 for me is the second best game of this entire year. Number 1 is Baldur's Gate. Alan Wake 2 comes very strongly at the second place.
Yeah.
Then number 3 is Legend of Zelda. All 3 of these games take insane amount of risk. Absolute insane amount of risk. And they innovate and they move gaming forward. Anthem and all of these games from EA or these giant companies, they play it safe. It's the same game every time. Assassin's Creed hasn't changed much in a while. Or if it changes, there's nothing inspiring about the change.
Yeah. I guess we'll get to these changes or inspiration. And I want to talk about as well the thing about Baldur's Gate 3, the controversy about that. But you previously said
controversy?
the positive controversy.
Okay.
Whatchamacallit? You said so management has its issues. We talked about that a lot, but then you threw in marketing. So what's the issue of marketing that hinders game development, or that maybe in your examples fucked up your game dev experience?
Oh, sorry, I messed up. I didn't mean marketing. I meant the business department.
Okay.
That's what I meant, not marketing. So
okay, what's up with business?
For example, if you have a single player game, there is no possible reason why you need to have microtransactions. It makes no sense. It takes you out of
Yeah.
the experience. Sometimes it ruins the experience. Sometimes it's, for example, I'll give an excellent example of horrible business decision making. The latest Disney racing game was a peak example of that.
Yeah.
You remember it?
Well, yeah, I
So,
played it.
I
mean,
forgot the
it's
name.
not just single player. It's like half multiplayer as well.
I know that's not the problem. For example, the business choice of that is, hey, we released the game for free on Steam, but the game is not really for free. You actually have to buy a DLC that is the base game. But the reason why we did this is so people cannot do refunds. Horrible
Yeah.
decision making that killed the entire game instantly. Instantly killed the game
Yeah.
for most people. So
Yeah, I mean, I did play the game recently.
That's a
It's
good
pretty
example.
good actually. But yeah, like when it first came out, then I
it looks
I heard
amazing.
about this, and I was gonna buy it, by the way, but then I started hearing this.
Me too.
This issue. I was like, nope.
yeah, just like, what are you doing? Why are you committing business suicide? Like, what are you doing? Just
But did
put the
you
game out there on Steam.
experience that, or like did you experience a similar issue on your end regarding the business not management?
Yes, there was one. In the company that I was working at, for example, the one that laid me off, but they paid a good amount. So we had like a game in our catalog, like an older game that a small number of dedicated people were playing it every day for the last 6-7 years. And instead of creating new DLCs or making new versions or sequels and improving on the community, all they did was just pay, I'm not gonna say, but a ridiculous amount of money every single month in order to boost downloads and get more money of what's already there, instead of, because the community was like begging for more content. And like, even though we could afford making more content, we just never did. And it was such a bad decision because the game ended up dying, and they eventually end up selling that game to another company. They sold the whole IP to another company. Horrible business choice on all fronts. All they wanted to do is spend money on clicks per rate and get more people in to spend more on what's already there, but they just didn't. They end up falling out of love of the game, I guess, and they focused their plan on a video game that actually made them no money, but was 10 times more the effort, almost like a fan project that went nowhere. It's pretty sad.
Yeah, I mean, from what you told me just now, it seems like they definitely made a mistake there, because like in business or business/marketing, it's way more difficult to acquire new users rather than appeasing current users and having them pay more or increase their volume of payment. So I guess if I was like in their positions, I would, like, if I had that budget to just get new users, I would maybe put at least like I was gonna say like 75% towards developing new content and 25% in marketing, but let's go with 50-50, where I would just like have a team make new content.
There's
then the other half make new users.
No, I agree with you 100%. There's also the issue of like, hey, once you have a successful IP, you better make sure that you cherish and you just need to make sure that you cherish that IP, that you keep that IP alive, or you diversify that IP, or you put more effort, or you make sequels. When you have something successful, there's a small window amount of time where you can make a sequel and still be successful again, because there reaches a time where people will be uninterested. So you need to make sure that you're cherishing that IP. You're giving it the love that it deserves, especially when you have a Discord server with 10,000 people talking and interacting every day, because that's what I had. I had a 10,000 people and much more Discord server that died out because we didn't give it attention, we didn't give it love. So that's a huge mistake that company right now is regretting. I'm sure of it. You know, because community is everything. You know, people are gonna. Community is everything. When you release a new update, new DLC, new, I don't know, microtransactions, community is going to be the one that's actually paying for those things. And if you don't cherish the community, they will never buy stuff. So, yeah.
This also reminds me of something like in relation to what you just said right now, plus the management issue. What are they called? The publisher / developer Tiny Build Games, and their acquisition of a game called something Neighbor. It's like a stealth game.
Hello Neighbor.
Hello Neighbor.
Hello Neighbor.
So like the story with that is like Kickstarter, everybody loved it. They had a demo, everybody loved it. But then it launched like an alpha. There were issues, but obviously, alpha, but people still liked it. But then that's when like Tiny Builds acquired them. And then that's when like shit started going down, because I think they like recreated everything that also had more issues. The beta features are removed, and then when the game came out, like a lot of stuff were like, what the fuck happened? There's so many bugs, so many design issues, and just things that don't make any sense. But despite all of this, and despite being, I'm assuming it got a lot of sales because of a lot of the marketing push Tiny Build had, plus its previous like success in Kickstarter. But even once the game launched, like it had a lot of negative reviews and people like generally speaking about it negatively. Despite that, Tiny Build. So what your previous company should have tried to do and like take care of the community, create more content for it, whatever. Tiny Build is doing that, but for a bad game. So like
I would
like what the fuck.
I would argue Tiny Build actually was diluting the genre, the IP they have a bit too much. They almost went overboard with what they did, but the problem is like that's okay in my opinion. They were milking it hard, and that's okay in my opinion, as long as what you are milking is quality content. And Hello Neighbor is not a quality polished game. It is very rough. It feels like a full indie game. Tiny Build is a huge company now. It's like which, by the way, I did apply for a job to them. Interesting fact.
It's not like the game is like an indie, and it's not worth the time of like Tiny Build. Tiny Build is for indie games. But the issue with Hello Neighbor, at least on launch with Tiny Build, is that it was just a mess. It was a bad game. Like they could have made it a great game, like great design, few bugs, and listened to feedback. And like I guess maybe the issue is, it seems like the issue is again management, and management not knowing how to properly hire and direct talent to make this game great. And they thought they were doing it, and they thought they were doing it, and in conjunction they had a plan and a campaign to like, we're gonna make t-shirts, we're gonna make trailers, we're gonna make TV series, we're gonna have like side games, while all throughout this time the game is like shit, getting shittier or getting better, I'm not sure, but throughout this time the game is shit. So like a lot of people were like confused, like what's happening.
Yeah, I would argue they didn't have a vision of the original prototype. They just saw a lucrative IP they could milk, and that's what they did, simply. But the quality was very low on what they achieved. So, quality is also important, hey? Like, I would give Alan Wake 2 as an example. Not only is it high quality, they went far and beyond what anybody else expected for a sequel from a game from 13 years ago. It's like they absolutely, like, they made the game for the fans. They made like a fan service game basically, and that is what we want, really. That's what we always wanted, and they nailed it. They didn't let any publisher jeopardize their vision, he didn't settle for less, and they achieved it. This is another issue in the game industry, which is publishers. Often publishers force on your game to have features that you don't have time to make. And you know, when you're in trouble, a lot of publishers abandon you instead of helping you out. That's also something that exists. It's pretty sad. Some publishers are amazing, and some are the worst. And I've heard nightmare stories and amazing stories from both sides.
Yeah, I mean, I guess some publishers, like, they see the issue as, oh, it's a issue of changing digits on a screen. Like, okay, hire this game that isn't performing well, or like it's over budget now. Okay, cut it off, start a new thing. They don't really, they're just doing it as a business. Like, I'll reference something one YouTuber said. He has like a person in the industry he talks with as well. I think that person is from like Blizzard, and so he basically asked him, why aren't you making this amazing game? Why can't you make Diablo, like give the people what they want, or make a Warcraft sequel, or like make this amazing new IP or whatever? Like, don't you want to do that? And basically the developer informant that he had, he told him, yeah, we can definitely do that. We can make an amazing game, or we can spend a quarter of that budget, make a whatever mobile game, release it, and make 10x the profits.
I mean, that used to be true. Now mobile gaming market is very
it still does. Very, look at Diablo.
What do you call it? Yes, for sure. But most mobile games don't make money. I know this because I work in that industry. But you are right. Mobile games as a market is 100 times more lucrative than PC games, indie games. I would say there is much more stability in PC and indie games. Mobile games is sometimes very unpredictable, your success on it. And but you're right. A lot of people are, you know, they like the idea of making $100 million. Who wouldn't like that? But the reality is that's not what most mobile games make. But look, in the mobile game market, there's no in the middle. You either make zero money or you make a lot of money. Whilst Steam games, you can make a game, earn $30,000 to $80,000. That would be enough money for you to survive a year making another game, and then you could release that, and if you're lucky you make another $30,000 to $80,000, and you repeat the cycle. You can establish a livelihood. But I would say mobile games is just much more risky, but the payoff from mobile games is just much larger than anything else I've seen, unless you're in a AAA company. That's a whole other thing.
The thing I mentioned is from a developer that's in Blizzard. Like, definitely from what I'm hearing, indie games on the mobile end, they would have almost zero chance of succeeding. But definitely in comparison to, like, if you have your game on PC, like on Edge or Steam. But like for like why big publishers don't make quality games anymore, because they're making shit games that are making them a lot of money. So also the other issue is, once a company gets really large, making any decision will take 100 different departments involved in that. So all the crazy, inventive and unique ideas get suppressed or get completely rejected, because now you have a huge company and you have many lives to support, and you have a duty to pay your employees, so you have to take safer decisions. But what people don't understand is this is not a safe industry. You really, if you want to thrive, you need to be taking huge risks, and a lot of people don't want to take huge risks. I mean, I understand why, because hey, if you have an employee and that employee has 3-4 kids and he needs to pay for their school or hospital bills and stuff, I feel horrible. I want to make sure we're going to get the money in to pay that person. But that also means that the larger the team gets, the less risks you take, the less interesting games get. The less interesting games become. I mean, you say that, and like that has its grounds, of course, but I don't think they think that like in big companies that line of thinking doesn't happen, because as we've seen, there's hundreds of layoffs in these big companies. I think so. It's not about thinking of the employees. It's more so about thinking of the shareholders, not the employees. Like, how can we make them more money? That's about it. And like small companies, sure, and like indie companies, sure. Like that line of thinking is almost, let's say, 50 to 100%. But in big companies, no, they are just thinking of the shareholder. Usually.
It depends what type of a big company you're talking about. If it's more of a private large company, then yeah, they do have that mindset. But if it's an open public company where there's shareholders and such, yeah, you're right. Shareholders often really pressure things that neither the developers working on the project want or the consumers want. So shareholders are definitely a huge issue, especially shareholders who know nothing about the field that they are working in, which is a very common type of shareholder.
Yeah. I guess before
what do you think?
Yeah.
Sure. What do you think of Snoop Dogg starting his own gaming studio?
Hilarious. That's the initial impression.
I'm not kidding. This is a real thing, apparently.
Yeah, the first impression, hilarious. But what's the game?
I love it. I have no idea. It's Death Row Records, the game studio. I love the name.
Yeah.
I love his character. I'm interested to see what type of games they're gonna make.
Yeah. Okay, they didn't announce any games. They're just like, we'll make games.
They just announced the studio, but we don't know what they're working on.
Oh, okay. Looking forward to it. Like, it's Snoop Dogg. Who doesn't love Snoop Dogg?
Definitely. Tell me, what were you gonna ask?
Whatchamacallit? What's the thing? Oh. So okay, all of this was like just industry talk, like a little bit here at the end. But before that, we talked about your experience in other companies. Though I do know you have your own studio, and pretty much like the past, let's say 3-4 months, I was kind of involved with it as well. But from let's say I don't wanna, if you don't wanna talk about it, sure. But what's let's say the negatives or the hardships of? I'm assuming that also like led to you not liking the gaming industry as well. Starting your own company and dealing with the issues there.
I mean, I have like 2 startups. One of them is much more active than the other. The other one is the game dev one that's kind of like on the sleeping mode right now. Yeah. And it's a matter of like with the game dev company, we just haven't been able to find funding for some time now. We used to have funding for like 3 projects that we made and we finished, and we just like can't find funding for the games that we want to make. It's usually funding for like stuff other people want to make, and it's always annoying. But we just need to find more. We just need to step a time away from it to see the world more clearly, and then we'll come back at it with prototypes that will pitch again to publishers. Hopefully, we eventually get funded on a project that we want to make, and the publishers will love. But it's an exhausting experience because we've made more than 30 prototypes throughout the years, and none of them have necessarily led us to any success. So game development is a very hard field. If you want to get into it, you get into it because you're crazy for it, not because it makes money. You can make money from it for sure, but it is a very difficult space to be making money, especially as an indie.
Yeah. So that was like the only issue, the funding part. Like, but was there like?
I would say it's funding, the main issue.
Okay.
No, I would say, look, every other issue we've had can be solved with funding that comes in, because once funding comes in, people have a livelihood, and it no longer becomes something they're doing on the side, and it becomes something they do full time. Therefore, the other team members would just be fully dedicated to it. So
Yeah.
I think funding is the main issue. Also, just generally speaking, making 30 prototypes and that leading nowhere is a very exhausting experience.
Yeah. I mean, I get what you're saying. I guess, like, obviously, from my connection with you, because there's no funding, you can't really, like, because, like, I know, like, the team members right now are, like, all around the world. So there's no really one place you can connect with, like, physically.
Oh, that is another
And-
problem.
Yeah, and because there's no funding, you can't really connect with each other, collaborate more efficiently, let's say. Though that's what's desired. And since you have other responsibilities, and, like, there's other real life issues, like with electricity, internet, water, all of that stuff. Yeah, I guess it all comes down to like funding, because you can't really 100 focus on the thing. And you just, I guess, over time, since like, even let's say there weren't 30 prototypes. You're like fresh, new, you want to make a game, but like you have a family, you have your main job. Even if you want to make a game on your own time, like on your pastime, the potential time it takes to make that game fully and release it might take, like, I don't know, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years on that, like, little time you have that to put on the
Lord
game.
knows.
And that's when you're like, I'm getting tired of game dev, I guess, because there's no funding.
Yeah, I mean, we had funding for some time and it was awesome. It was like a full-time job almost for me. We had so much funding coming in. But then it reached a point where the funding dried out and we got our own site. We got our own jobs, and then we tried to revisit old prototypes. Didn't work out. And then I would say the second issue after funding would be we are not in the same country living together if we were, like, previously. Because previously we were, and we had much more success doing projects, but when we're far away in different countries, different time zones, it gets very exhausting. So that is an issue also.
But also, I mean,
Yeah.
like, I mean, remote working is possible and you've done it before. But I guess in this specific scenario, it's not really working out because of the local issues that your other partner has, and that's in Lebanon. And I'm in Lebanon, so I know as well. Because of, like, the internet and the electricity and all of that. It makes remote working, like, a shit ton harder.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, the country you're in, also the country's economical situation and whatever is happening internally all affects your mental health. And, you know, after making 30 prototypes, people get exhausted and they need to break away from doing this one thing they've been doing for years now. So that you need to leave each other space to kind of heal from it also.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I want to visit. I want to make games. I think I haven't fully stopped loving to make games, but I feel like I would like to make games in my private company stuff, or like as a hobby instead of working in the game industry. But then again, you know, in a few months, as you know, I'm going to be traveling to yet another country, and in that country, like, there are just so many more game development studios that are more serious. So maybe I'll fall back in love with making games again after being around management that is more serious, or a team that is much more encouraging. So who knows what happens, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now, waiting to leave the country. Yeah.
I mean, okay, so you're, like, right now taking a break, and what's the thing you're going into that's the other opposite thing that you're doing, so that you can not work on, like, game dev stuff? What's your break?
I mean, definitely reading was a part of it. Reading is a huge part of it. Writing is a huge part of it. Going into nature, taking hikes is a huge part of it. I have another tiny startup that was a part of it, still is. So yeah, whatever else you can find that'll distance you away from this thing until you feel relaxed and comfortable to come back and tackle it with new eyes is what matters. Absolutely.
Oh, no, yeah, but what I meant is not in terms of, like, relaxing. What I'm trying to say is, what's the industry you're heading to work on that's not game dev?
Oh, So, truthfully, I wish I had an answer. I don't know myself.
Yeah.
I'm right now very much in the exploration phase. I'm trying to figure out what other industry I want to work with. So I'm very much in the exploration phase. So I really don't have an answer yet.
Okay.
So yeah.
Leaning on some. What's your exploration? What's your findings right now?
Well, I do have a degree in graphic design, so that is a consideration because it pays well. Also, there's like I can also return to the game dev industry, but not as an artist or not as a game designer. I could maybe reapproach it as a writer, as a narrative designer. Or I can, there's always these different avenues because I have multiple skill sets, so I can always repurpose one of my skill sets to fit a different niche. So that's another consideration.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, honestly, it's I'm open to trying many different creative jobs, honestly. Yeah.
I mean, you said creative, but considering the issues you mentioned about the game dev industry, mainly like the management thing, wouldn't you want to try to take the position of a manager and take that as a challenge to make things run smoothly?
So I have done this before. I took the position as an art director. It didn't go very well, mainly because I didn't have much authority despite being an art director. Management sounds great for me. I think I would naturally fit in a management role. Yeah, the only issue with management is like in indie studios, if you're a manager, it means you're most likely an owner. So if I get funding for my own projects, I would love to be manager within those projects. So that's something also to consider, definitely for the future.
I mean, there are like companies out there, from what I've heard from different people, is you can get hired as a project manager to handle a project. All like your responsibility. They just give you the money. They tell you, we want to make a game that makes us money. So they just give you the money, and then you literally handle the hiring, handling the ideation, handle like literally everything. Like wouldn't that?
I mean, that sounds awesome. You can maybe tell me more about those companies, and I can approach them.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, I think
I nice thing to try.
Poke an individual about it. Yeah.
We'll talk about this off the stream privately.
No, we'll publicize it.
We'll publicize it. We're making the next Fortnite. No.
Yeah.
Apologies, I've been very sick. Yeah.
That's fine. Because of the pumpkin.
I blame the pumpkin head.
The poop. The thing I want to get to that I said before. Baldur's Gate 3, the controversy about that.
What is it?
So Baldur's Gate 3, it came out, very little issues, fantastic full game, all the features, all the content, quality delivery, on time, decently priced. It's a full course meal, and people were enjoying the smell, the taste, everything. So you think, okay, what the fuck is the controversy? Apparently that's the controversy, and the controversy isn't coming from users, it's not coming from gamers, it's coming from the game developers in the industry. And what are they complaining about?
I heard about it.
Yeah, what are they complaining about? The guys, like these developers that are bringing up this issue, they're talking to consumers or the gamers. They're saying, guys, the game is like really good. It's not the standard though. Like, don't think other games can achieve this kind of like awesome game. And then everyone was like, the fuck are you talking about? No, we're gonna increase our standards. What the fuck?
Yeah, that was a pretty immature thing to say. Look, on a technical level, yes, it's very difficult to achieve this level of polish, but it's not impossible, or it's not what we shouldn't be aiming at. Of course, every studio should be trying to aim at to making the best version of the product that they can make. So
Yeah.
making this weird arbitrary thing where you are like, whoa, these standards are too much, we shouldn't be looking up at these standards. No, you should be looking up not only at these standards, but something even higher than that, because that's what we do in this industry. We always try to innovate, we always try to push forward. What happened was with Baldur's Gate, it became so popular that it became almost like the next standard of RPGs, like the next generation of RPGs. If they don't hit levels of Baldur's Gate, then they are not good RPGs. That, I think, scared a bunch of developers without them thinking for the future on, hey, wait a minute, look, if you don't have the budget to polish the same level of Baldur's Gate, which you definitely don't have the budget, most people don't, if you don't have the talent, which most people don't, guess what, don't make a typical RPG, which Baldur's Gate is still a typical RPG, turn-based one, right? I don't know what it classifies, because the real-time, no, apologies, is it turn-based? It's the more like real-time and turn-based mixed together, apologies. I played it, I love it. So if you cannot reach that level of awesomeness, how about you innovate and you do something that Baldur's Gate will never be able to do? Make something more indie, or make something completely crazy and wacky, or a whole new different approach, while spending less money. Not all of us need to be Baldur's Gate, but at the same time, let's try to look at that and aspire to be that good, you know? So it is a very weird and arbitrary thing that was brought up on Twitter. I don't know why it was brought up. It's very weird.
I mean, like when I heard that, I thought, well, one, are you guys stupid? And two, no, we're not gonna lower our standards. No, this is gonna be like the standard, and even higher. And for them saying like don't expect this, or like don't increase your standard. And I'm thinking, so should we continue to consume shit? And their argument were like, it's not realistic. I mean, it can be realistic. I mean, it happened, so it is realistic. Sure, it might be like a unique scenario, let's say, but it's only a unique scenario because the industry, for the longest time, have been decreasing the standard over time to save up money and increase money, not because it's not possible. So when Baldur's Gate 3 came out and like it got a lot of praise and the standard has been increased, these game developers are like, I think it was mostly from like AAA companies, maybe AA to AAA.
Absolutely.
They're
AAA.
So what their fear, I'm assuming, is people will rate their game lower in comparison to Baldur's Gate 3. And I'm thinking, I mean, yes, that will happen, and that's obvious, and that's normal. And I'm thinking, well, like,
that's okay. We also don't have to compare. We also don't have to compare every single game to Baldur's Gate 3. You know what I mean? That's a nice goal to achieve, but you also don't have to compare every single game. I mean, for example, if I start complaining Alan Wake to Baldur's Gate 3, what are you going to benefit from that? Nothing. They're not even the same type of game. So I understand how other RPGs might be perceived not as good as Baldur's Gate 3, but guess what? That becomes the new gold standard, such as the same way Ultima was the new gold standard of RPGs in its time, or RuneScape, or Warcraft, or Dragon Age. At those times, those games were the gold standard, and everybody tried to achieve that standard. Imagine a developer during World of Warcraft being like, whoa guys, this is too good, we can never reach this, don't even try. Like, yeah, that's not okay, that's ridiculous, it's childish.
and arguably no game has came close to being as good as World of Warcraft.
Yeah, I mean, if your definition of good is being as addictive as cocaine, yeah, sure. No.
Well,
cocaine.
I mean, arguably, I mean, you've recently played World of Warcraft with like not the latest expansion,
I
but
love
the one
that game.
before that.
No, the latest, I played it. I played both,
okay.
the latest and the one before.
So,
yeah.
with like if I think that also falls. I think this is in the same category of comparison in regards to Baldur's Gate 3. I think World of Warcraft is a good example as well. But that also delves into a kind of like different topic, which is so a lot of every since let's say Burning Crusade 1 or just Burning Crusade, there's no one. A lot of MMOs are trying to get the success of World of Warcraft being developed and released since Burning Crusade till now. And a lot of people it's decreased now, but a lot of people are saying, oh, this game is the WoW killer, or that game is the WoW killer, or whatever game is the WoW killer. They never become the WoW killer. Not even like Final Fantasy, as good as it is, that MMO one. But I think so. It's not. So Baldur's Gate 3, or like the controversy about it, is similar to World of Warcraft and like copycat games, similar to it. In a sense of developers are thinking, oh, this new standard is an issue, so that for them to strive for. Players don't want another World of Warcraft, like because nobody. Yeah, it's fine. Players don't want another World of Warcraft, or players don't want another Baldur's Gate 3 or whatever it's called. Because World of Warcraft and Baldur's Gate 3 are World of Warcraft, and it is what people wanted and they got it. They don't want Schnolder's Gate 5 or Schnolder's Gate whatever. I don't know what like other copycat game is going to call itself. And people start calling it like it's a copycat. No, people want unique game whatever that has the production or like the quality control of Baldur's Gate, but with like its own interesting and unique takes on it, and like to deliver something new.
Of course.
Same with Call of by the way, same issue. So this applies also to World of Warcraft. People don't want a WoW killer. They want something new that has the similar elements, but it's completely like its own thing. For example, Genshin Impact. It's not Genshin Impact is not a WoW killer, but Genshin Impact like created its own thing, where nobody's saying it's a WoW killer. They're just saying, "Oh, I love Genshin Impact. It's so amazing." And now there's a lot of other games that are saying, "Oh, this is gonna be the Genshin Impact killer."
Yeah, see what I mean? You have to be so good that you create your own genre. Once they start calling you the Dark Souls of this, you made it. I'm kidding.
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
Yeah,
but like, that's like once they start comparing you to the most successful games in the industry, you made it. Or once they start comparing other games based on yours, you made it. It's like the second one is more true than the first. But yeah, look, for World of Warcraft, what they're saying is, what makes World of Warcraft World of Warcraft? It's the sheer amount of content. The sheer amount of content, the massive storyline it's trying to tell, just the whole open universe you can explore and go wherever you want, whenever you want. Apologies, keep moving it. And look, if you get another game that can achieve that, which I think they can, it's possible, they can achieve it. But the problem is World of Warcraft has had 15 to 20 years of content.
Yeah.
Like, the amount of money you need to even reach there is impossible. You can't make a World of Warcraft killer. It's physically impossible. You need to make your own game. You need to make your own thing, my man. Don't try to make the World of Warcraft killer. Don't try to make the Baldur's Gate killer. Make your own damn game and innovate. Innovate every time.
Yeah, and
like, for example, I have yet to see... Sorry, go ahead.
No, yet to see what?
I've yet to see a game... I'll give one example. I've yet to see a game with Baldur's Gate's mechanic that's not a fantasy. Generic fantasy world. Like, when am I gonna get my, I don't know, horror game RTSs? Or, like, these unique things that we have yet to see anybody make? Like, please, innovate. Like, try to go out there, explore. And themes and art styles are important, but, like, at the end of the day, unique mechanics, unique atmosphere, unique settings are what makes a product great these days. So innovate. Don't be afraid of taking risks. Yeah
And I mean, yeah, we said that, and like in reference to Baldur's Gate 3 and like why gamers have issues with these other developers saying like, oh, don't put it as the new standard. They're not saying, or like, the gamers are saying to these developers, fuck you, not because, oh, they want another Baldur's Gate. They're saying that because it's not that they want another Baldur's Gate, they just want the quality control of Baldur's Gate, regardless of what genre it is. It's not necessarily not necessarily
I think
like
that's
an
what they
RPG.
meant to. I think they said, I think what they meant is don't expect this level of quality, this level of content. I think that's what they were trying to say. I feel like that's a little bit unreasonable ask, first of all.
Yeah.
Because why not? You know, gamers deserve that level of quality and content. I know it's not every studio is going to be able to make it, but that's totally fine. We're not going to expect a tiny studio of 5 indie people making Baldur's Gate 3. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a ridiculous ask. So
Plus,
I don't know. It's almost like a non-statement from these people.
yeah. Plus, like, okay, you can't make it. You can't reach that standard. Let's say you're gonna get a 7 out of 10 from reviews because of it. All right, and then move on. Like, hopefully you'll get better at it and get an 8 next time.
I really believe that you will not get a less of a score. I think people are judge games as they are. If it's too similar to Baldur's Gate, then you are placing yourself within that category, and you deserve whatever score you get. So you need to know what you're aiming for. But definitely, again, people are not going to compare Alan Wake 2 to Baldur's Gate 3 and be like, which one? You know, they're not going to give them scores based on is one better than the other. No, they're going to give them scores based on what they are themselves, because they're nothing alike.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't play Baldur's Gate 3, but let's say Baldur's Gate came out and The Witcher 3 came out today. And let's say like did you play Witcher 3?
Yes, finished it.
Okay. So great, then you can compare. So like, you played Baldur's Gate 3, whatever, and then like a few months later, so when now we're here, Witcher 3 came out, you played it and finished it. Would you say that? So I would assume that both of these games are $60 each. And both of them are different, like really different. Though sure, RPGs, both of them, but they're really different. I would assume that the standard that The Witcher 3 has achieved in terms of story, in terms of content, in terms of character, in terms of like world level design, all of that is on par with Baldur's Gate 3, but it might be not on par in terms of like, let's say, QA and bug fixing. That's about it. So in terms of like scoring The Witcher 3 in comparison to Baldur's Gate on launch, let's say, Witcher 3 might get like a 9 and not a 10 in comparison to Baldur's Gate 3 as a 10. Would that be a fair assessment?
Yeah, and what you're asking in terms of community support, bug fixing, and all of those stuff, then sure, yeah, those maybe you can compare in terms of like how they plan to release their games. But for me, Witcher and Baldur's Gate are completely different experiences. The game itself is not comparable at all to each other. I would compare Baldur's Gate 3 with XCOM, Pillars of Eternity, the new Alien RTS game, those stuff, right? That's what I would compare it to.
No, but that's my point though. What I'm trying to convey here is it doesn't matter what game I'm picking, I can compare it to Baldur's Gate 3 and not necessarily in terms of like what are they similar at, but in terms of the like the quality
control
and the content output.
Fair enough,
the game.
yeah. No, fair enough. In that aspect, yes, you can compare everything to everything in that aspect, because you're talking about customer service at that point.
Not necessarily customer service, like if
delivered.
Like Baldur's Gate 3 came out, like let's say with little to no issues, while let's say Cyberpunk came out with a shit ton of issues. Even though the story is great, the characters are great, the presentation is fantastic, but it had a lot of issues.
Everything's great.
And in that sense, like let's say if Cyberpunk didn't have any issues, both of these games are priced similarly, $60 each. Both of them would get 10 out of 10. Like Cyberpunk would have achieved the standard of Baldur's Gate, but because the issues that came out from it, like technical issues, let's say delivery issues, false promises, yada yada yada, it did not reach the standard of Baldur's Gate.
Sure, you're talking about service, you're talking about quality, you're talking about community, you're talking about all the stuff that happens at the launch of a game, for example, or support after it. That is its own category, and I can compare those absolutely. Yeah, no, I know, I agree with you. I don't disagree necessarily.
I think that's what people are trying to say when they're trying to say fuck to these developers, don't have this, we're gonna have the standard. And I think the gamers are saying the standards that they're thinking is just the quality of the game, or like the quality and quantity of the game in comparison to the price.
If that's what they were truly trying to say, then I agree with the people. Absolutely. Yeah. If that is truly, look, you're also coughing. I made you sick. I made you sick virtually.
You're spreading your seeds.
I'm spending.
But yeah. I mean,
again, see, I'm sorry.
I don't think, like, sure, people are stupid, sure, but in this scenario, I don't think people, like gamers in this scenario, were stupid enough in a sense to bring the message of, oh, I'm gonna compare Call of Duty to Baldur's Gate 3 and
oh yeah,
why isn't there an RPG system in Call of Duty? Like, I don't think they're gonna say that. I don't think they're that fucking stupid and say that sentence. I genuinely think it's just about the quality of the game, the smoothness of the systems, or like the content of what they're getting for their money. That's the standard that they have.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And if that's what it is, I fully agree with the people, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, hopefully these, I guess, devs learn, and hopefully these AAA companies be able to reach that standard, I guess. Like every time. They're not, but
and hopefully it doesn't
crossed.
take another 20 years for Baldur's Gate 4, okay? I want that faster. Give it to me.
Yeah.
I want it.
Investors get to it.
Give it to me. Get to it.
Yeah. What's happening with your channel? Like I know you're just reviewing books, but
yeah. No, I wanna change it up. I wanna try new things. I wanna talk much more about storytelling. I wanna dive deeper into storytelling. And instead of just reviewing books, which is I read 31 books so far this year, and I haven't reviewed most of them. Reviewing is good, it's fun, but it's not fulfilling. I want to dive into storytelling and present stories that people have never heard before. That's what I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about storytelling. I'm passionate about my own culture, and maybe I'll start representing literature from my own culture and such.
So wait, what do you mean by storytelling in terms of retelling a story? Like just reading? Or you mean creating a story?
No. Talking about storytelling, about how, hey, this book I read has this very unique thing and that I don't see in other places, and that affects this how that way, or this game is using a story archetype from this novel and it's based in where does it come from. It's more about the history of storytelling, or making videos maybe about how about a national epic that nobody has ever heard of, that it's a national epic that I love.
So
it comes from my village, for example, but the world hasn't heard of it, and I would like to highlight the story. Or so it's more
research and analysis, not development.
Yes, those YouTube channels where they talk about a hidden game nobody's heard of, or they talk
okay.
about this thing that happened in this part of the world and how it's so unique and affects everything else. There's so many of these channels. They're called documentaries, I think.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in trying that type of content in the future.
So, for example, you'd create a video
Yeah.
with a title of this fairy tale story you've never heard about.
Yeah, or the oldest story ever told, or the oldest symbol in the world, you know, or
basically
the
trying
character
to
archetype that appears in every single story.
Trying to present the humanity's stories or humanity's content, but the content that's not
That's a
mainstream.
great way of putting it. Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. Like, for example, one of my favorite directors of all time is Sergei Parajanov, and like nobody knows about this man, yet his work affects majority of filmmakers today in profound ways, and his work is never highlighted. So I would love to show it off, for example. So it's like those things, especially me, I come from a different part of the world that nobody knows anything about. I would like to create a platform where I can express those stories, you know? Yeah,
that's nice. Yeah, that like I would actually like depend, like I'm not gonna say like I'm gonna watch all your videos, but if you start making these things and if you start you see, look, I'm being honest, that's what friends do.
Listen, if you don't, I'm gonna put you in my brain, okay? If you don't, I'm gonna put you in my brain, and
No,
you're
but
gonna
look,
be
look.
there. You're gonna be stuck as a story in there.
Look, if start making these videos, and if one video I see like a thumbnail and story and like title that caught my interest and I watched it all through, I'll tell you I watched that. So like you're like, oh shit, okay, out of 10 or 20 videos you watched that one specifically. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm planning a bunch. I already know 5 to 10 videos that I want to make. I've already planned it in my head, but you know, research is a lot. I need to do research. I need to do development. I need to make a literal documentary. I need to get 100 times better at video editing if I want to take this seriously, the storytelling aspect.
Yeah.
We'll see about it. Right now it's just a thought, and I don't know when I'll take this seriously, but hopefully sometime next year I would take this much more seriously. Yeah.
That's nice. Before I get into, like, I want to bring a topic that's a little bit dangerous, but we'll pause that. But before that,
Whoa.
before that, I'm kind of, since we're like in the game, like, you haven't played, like I played VRChat a lot, like a shit ton. But in your case, and like other, like friends and whatever, don't play it as like you're playing it right now because I told you to play it, so I can have the stock. So basically, you don't know much about VRChat, and the question here is
Apologies.
the question here is, why aren't you like more initiated towards playing the game, let's say? Like, I'm interested in hearing that perspective, not because like,
Oops.
oh my god, please play the game, like I'm like yeah, just I'm more curious about like what's missing from the game that's not piquing your interest.
Yeah, I guess just generally speaking, it's a certain type of person who plays the game. Generally speaking, it's people who like anime, it's people who like very online content, it's people who usually there's a very young audience also here, and I'm getting older, and I'm a bit of an old school at heart, and it's like, it's a bit harder for me to get into these virtual experiences online. I would love to do VRChat more if there's like communities that are interested in the same stuff I'm interested in. But it's more of an interest-based thing. So it's like people here like certain things, right? And I'm slightly out of that world. That's why it's harder for me to come in this world and stay here for long periods of time. I hop in from time to time, but but you practically live in this application.
Yeah, pretty much. I slept in it, so
pretty much. I told you.
Okay, well, how about this? You said what you just said right now, and I'll see if there's like wrong understandings, let's say, or like I can fight back against what you're saying in terms of you might have like a wrong impression, perhaps.
Possible. It's very possible.
So you said like about this is for a young audience, like mostly like children that are playing this game. That's kind of half true. Where so we have people, we call them questies. It's people who are using only the Quest to play VRChat, and those people are usually kids. Like kids don't have like beast PCs or whatever, or like don't know how to connect their headset to PC. So that's why when you go to a PC only world like this one, I usually go to a world called the Great Pug. It's like a bar place where 99% it's always like 18 or 20 plus people, like age.
See, that's what I mean. Like you already know what community to go to. That's
but
like
it's not a community. It's more like it's just people. There's no kids here. That's it. Like that's the world. It's not a community. In terms of communities, there are various like language communities. There are dancing communities. There are anime communities, Japanese communities, Arab communities. I don't know if there's Armenian communities. But for example, there's a very strong possibility that there's a book community. So there's that as well.
Oh, that's cool. I would absolutely love to. I would absolutely love to interact with that type of community that's like book related. I guess that would be interesting for me, or like
I'll ask around and see like
cool.
where their page is at, what's their group or whatever, and like link it to you. But aside from communities, like I'm assuming in real life sometimes you go outside, maybe like you go to a restaurant or a cafe or a bar, you just sit around and chill, and you just hear what people are saying, like from afar, like next to you or whatever. You just get the ambience while you're drinking or whatever. Or sometimes maybe like somebody comes over, or like you go to someone's like, hey, I heard you talk about this, mind if I like sit with you and talk about it as well? Sometimes that happens. That's pretty much what VRChat is. Like for that's what I'm literally doing in VRChat. There's the Great Pug world I said. I just go there, sit around, see what people are talking about while I'm just like chilling. Like literally I'm just doing this and just not doing anything until people either come to me or I hear people say something and I just go to them and talk. That's it. It's literally just talking.
But like I think there's also the aspect that this is all digital, and that's awesome. But I spend a lot of time on the computer. Like all my life is on the computer I've spent, and it's nice to go out and hike in the woods and just go in the wilderness and then come back maybe online and also interact with this community. I think that's also awesome. I think it fulfills a similar need. I just need to be a bit healthier and I need to move around in the world. I think that's why I love to hike a lot, and I love nature. I'm obsessed with nature, and so I would love to be more active in VRChat. It's just like VRChat is just like everything else in life. You need to make a habit out of it, and then once you stop the habit, it's a bit harder to come back into it. So it's more of a lifestyle than a game, really, right? I think.
Is it I mean, some people have it as a lifestyle, I guess.
I think I think for most people it's a lifestyle.
For people who play it like I play it a lot, but for people who play it like more than me, like literally every day, like 6 hours, it's probably a lifestyle at that point, but I guess in VRChat, the reason why people play it, I mean, aside from actually, I think it's two reasons mainly. I can say it's two reasons. One is that because of like the VR aspect of it, you are living in another world. You are living in a world that's not Earth. You are in a body that's not your own, but you're like you own it basically. Like right now I'm like, this is not me, obviously, and you're not like a pumpkin farmer.
I wish I was. I really wish I was.
Yes, you see, that's a desire, like you can be that, and especially if you have full body tracking gear, that's even more like immersified, even more. That's one reason to be in another world that's not your own. Perhaps like the world you're in, you hate it or whatever, or like the area you're in, you can't stand it. You want to escape. Escapism, basically.
Fair enough. It is true.
The other reason, or the other main reason, is people don't usually socialize, let's say, or like the people that are playing this game don't usually socialize. Like maybe they're in an environment where like it's hard to socialize with the real people around them, or maybe they have some kind sort of like anxiety or whatever. Or even if they like socialize on Discord or socialize in like other games, because of the first reason, the immersion part, and merged with the second point of the need to socialize, to interact with people, of like having that human nature to do so, and doing it in a world where there's no risk of like a lot of elements that's the risks that are available in the real world, from physical touch, harm, or like people knowing your identity. So that's also like another form of anxiety or whatever, or fear. Like a lot of things in real life gets eliminated in VRChat, and that's why people are more comfortable in VRChat to socialize, or like to fulfill their need in VRChat to socialize. So I think these are the two main reasons. And I'm assuming from what you said, you are already fulfilling these needs in real life.
Yes, absolutely. Also, I feel like I don't want to come off as, I'm not trying to insult anybody, but I've realized a lot of people on VRChat also have what would you call it, like image issues, like they are not fully comfortable with the way they
or
in real
sex
life.
dysmorphia.
Yeah, it's not, some people have dysmorphia and some people just are not fully comfortable in themselves in real life, and this offers a way for them to meet people where in real life some of those same people would have dismissed them given the way they look, and here they can communicate without judgment because of the avatar that you embody is who you are in this world. So that's what I think that also plays a smaller part, generally speaking, but it does play a part, I think.
That's an interesting point, and I would like to... So that point is, for me, from my perspective, it's actually a positive point. Not in terms of...
So I agree with you, actually. I do think it's a positive thing.
Yeah, and the reason is, so like, you know how people say, in terms of like getting into a relationship or trying to get into a relationship with someone or trying to find someone, a lot of people say, I don't care about looks. Like there's a lot of people that say that sentence. But unfortunately, regardless of how much you don't care about looks, you actually do care about looks. Not like, at least not consciously. Subconsciously, you do care. Like if you see, for example, someone that looks like an Egyptian mafia boss, you will most likely not approach that individual.
Hey, some Egyptian mafia bosses are good looking, okay?
Yes. Look, but that's just an example, And,
no, listen.
And as a reason, like there's now, I'll get to it actually, but when you start, because there's no like image judgment, I mean there is avatar judgment, but people are more likely to just focus on your words and body behavior rather than your actual image.
And your words.
Yeah, and your words. So the focus on the character is now a shit ton more emphasized rather than it being an equal judgment of character and looks. So when trying to find someone and they now have reviewed you as a character of your character rather than your looks initially, then once, and like let's say they liked you because of it, once they've seen your let's say actual looks, it might turn them off, it might not, but the potential of connections to be established has presumably would have increased a shit ton.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree. I believe people interact with other people online that they would have never interacted with in the real world. For whatever reason, of whatever judgments they might make about another person's look, about another person's type, whatever stereotype you might assign them in real life, I feel like in online it's a bit difficult to do so because it's just an image or an avatar. Even on social media, it's like Instagram, right? I feel, a lot of people feel much more comfortable into sliding into somebody's DMs or, so like approaching somebody of the other gender, of the same gender, whatever, and on social media than they do in real life. Because in real life, it's just, you look a certain way and you're always conscious about that. A lot of people don't have confidence, so therefore they prefer to start with the social media approach, because there's also on the social media, there's shared interest. Like if you're using those dating applications such as Tinder and such, if a person just says yes to you, that means they found at least something attractive about you.
Yeah.
And I would say physical attraction is very important in real life, because it's not enough to be emotionally and like mentally attracted to each other. That is very, very important. That is more important than the physical one. But the physical one is still important because you need to have a physical chemistry with somebody else. Like, for example, and I'll say this for guys, online, women have this strange idea of guys, I would say, that is often not true, and the same for guys for women, which is a lot of guys think that women are looking for these guys with six packs and huge muscles, and I can guarantee you that's not what majority of women are looking for. And I guarantee you that majority of men are just looking for normal girls who are just, who are just interested in them, who show interest to them. I feel like our sexual, or not sexual, but more like our attractions in media are exaggerated, are not realistic. And I feel like most people in real life are just looking for other normal people like them or similar to them, and nothing crazy. I know from experience, like most guys are actually turned off if a woman is like a supermodel. And this is strange to think about, but most guys are literally turned off from that, because most guys just want women who are more like them, right? But then there are also like guys who are supermodels, and they're probably interested in those women who are supermodels, right? Because they're like more of their type. And I mean, I know that's a weird tangent, but that is also a discussion nobody ever has.
No,
social
actually,
media, everything's exaggerated.
I think it was 2 or 3 days ago. Like I was just talking with friends on Discord. I don't know why it was brought up. I forgot, but basically it comes down to like, that same example of the supermodel thing. Like I just whipped out 2 pictures and like shared it to them, and I told them the first picture, it was like of a very supermodel looking woman, and I told them, you see, this is a picture, like this picture of a woman, that's basically the market top standard of like woman beauty, right? And they're like, yeah. I told them I do not want to approach her. I don't want her. Like there's no desire for me to want to have her. There is a sexual desire, of course, like that's heightened, of course, but like in terms of like a partner, I don't want her. Then I shared the second picture of just like a simple, like, I don't know, just a simple girl with a nice smile that looks like she's doing some work. That's it. I told them I want that in terms of visuals, at least.
I mean, I agree with this 100%. I've always had, like, I don't know, like, it's a difficult topic because it could easily be stereotyped, what I'm trying to say. But I'll give an example of like online, you have these extreme people, such as like Andrew Tates of the world, who are like, you need to date this many women, you need to sleep with this number of them, you need to do all of these things, and you're like, but that's not what makes me happy. That's what makes you happy. You should do that. But how about you shut the fuck up when it comes to other people? Stop influencing other people. Most kids who are 15-year-old, 12-year-olds who are like watching you, they don't know what they want in life. But once they grow older, most people are gonna be normal people. Most people are gonna be attracted to normal looking people. Very small number of people are gonna be the stereotype that this person is. Or like the fiction that this person lives, because they do live many times a fiction. I don't know, it's like this whole like when it comes to the from the red pill people, like the pickup artists are the most annoying ones. Because
those are annoying very.
Those are like the fit and fresh and fit guys are like complete scumbags. Like,
here's this my
their
pickup
idea
line
of
book.
success and happiness. Yeah, exactly. Like their whole idea of success is sleeping with multiple women at the same time. No, there's lust in that, but there's no love in that. You know?
Yeah, I mean,
and
like in terms of like like all like in terms of from the male perspective and from the female perspective. I'm not female, but like, I can still say it. I might be wrong. Who knows? You decide. I don't care. And from like the actual advice, and you can confirm since you do have a partner. I don't, but you can say if what I'm saying is right or wrong. The actual advice, or like the correct advice, is just stay healthy. If you can be fit, great. Have good character. Be honest. Be straightforward, be confident, and just enhance your life in general. Then once you want to find a partner, and if you want to attract them, just go to them. Hey, I find you attractive. Let's see if we can hit it off. Let's go get some coffee sometime.
I'll do you one better. Everything you said is correct. I'll do you one better. Most women I've met are interested in guys who are not necessarily the fittest, right? I know a lot of women who are attracted to
I'm
men
saying like
with
healthy and a little bit fit.
I know, I'm just saying, absolutely. Look, being healthy is good because you need to be healthy in life to live a comfortable life. But I'm saying there's also a lot of women who are interested in dad bods. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying. It's very common. Not even a bit. It's extremely common. And in the Western world, that might have been villainized, but the rest of the world, it's extremely common. So what I'm trying to say is, like, you most likely will find somebody who's interested in you, no matter what weight, as long as it's a healthy weight, as long as you're not overly obese. If you are overly obese, you should probably go to the gym. You should probably take a lot of walks, mostly, first of all, for your own health. Second of all, to be able to find a partner much easier in life. So like
but
absolutely. But you don't
need to buy these books.
Giant muscles and six packs. You don't need to buy pickup artist books. You do not need six packs and giant muscles. You need to be healthy. You need to be healthy looking. That's all that matters, my man. Yeah.
See, we saved you $20 from buying a book in like 2 minutes.
20? I wish 20. Hustle University charges you thousands of dollars for nothing. I'll give it to you for free, my man.
So that was the male perspective. From the female perspectives, we're not females, but we can still say it. In terms of,
I've talked to many women about this.
In terms of attracting a man, it's not the makeup. Like, a lot of men hate makeup, including myself.
Me too.
So it's not about the makeup. It's not about if your hair is like all straight. It's not the heels. It's not the dress. It's not any of the looks. And it's not about your job. It's not about the money you have. It's not about the power you have. It's about what's your interest, what's your principles, and are you interested in me, and will you show respect and interest to me? That's it. That's literally it. And if you fit my visual preference crucial, in terms of like, if I like your face and you have a good character, if you're also healthy, of course, and you're not like mean, you're not like if you're not evil, you're just a good person, and you're showing that interest and good personness to me, then you will attract the man that you want.
Yeah, I mean, on the first date that I ever went with my now wife, of course.
Yeah.
The first date that we ever went with, we knew that we had some sort of attraction towards each other, but it was very mild. Like, it's not like a crazy amount of attraction, because it's a first date. You don't know what you're gonna get. Like, it hasn't developed yet, you know. So there is some mild attraction, and where the strong attraction comes in is from sitting down, talking to each other, and finding common grounds, common values, common life goals. And that's where the real attraction, the second wave of attraction comes in. Physical is important, but the emotional, the value, the life goal
and the actions.
I think is 3 times more important than the actions are 3 times more important than the physical one. So physical is only, I would say, if your physical is 30% of your entire relationship, the rest is you have to put work. You have to have the same life goals and the same values, same belief systems is huge. Like, this might be a bit awkward to discuss, but there's a reason why there are a lot of biracial relationships, but at the same time there aren't the same number of different religious relationships, meaning there's a reason why there are more biracial relationships, because race is not something you control, you're born into, but religion is something you control, and most people prefer to marry somebody of their own same religion. So beliefs is actually more important than looks. So it's much easier to be in a biracial relationship than be in a relationship of 2 different religious belief systems, because belief systems is important. I'm not very religious. My wife is a tiny bit religious, but because we're very agnostic-ish, we're able to live together comfortably, you know what I mean? But if she was conservative Christian and I was a full-on atheist, then it would have been very difficult.
I mean, whatchamacallit, how would you say it? Wait 1 second, my left ear turned off. I need to charge it.
Oh, no worries.
So
see, this is my turn to shine. This is my time to shine.
I'm
Sorry,
still good. No, screw your shyness.
Okay. Oh no.
No. So
go ahead,
regarding this, like why I'm confidently agreeing with you, and why I'm saying these things as well, is because it happened to me from my side as well, where like there's this chick, in terms of like initial impression, I would be like, I wouldn't approach her, but throughout like history, throughout time, spending together, being friends, playing games, talking about whatever, me figuring out her character, suddenly I'm visually attracted to that person now. Like
that is so true. That is so true.
The perspective got changed so much. I was like, oh shit. Why?
So much.
So like the character can change your visual appreciation of a person. If you might initially find disgust in them, in terms of visually, sexually, whatever, through your
I wouldn't say disgust,
digestion,
but I'm just saying
I'm taking an extreme even. Even if you find disgust in them, like sexually, or like very like no I'm not gonna like fuck him or whatever, but then after some time, like you get to know their character more in depth, and you see that they're a really great person, and you start developing feelings, and because of these feelings, your perception of them visually, the disgust or like your negativity of them goes away, and might go into the positive as well. So you might become sexually attracted to them as a result of you digesting their character.
I mean, you're clearly using extreme words to describe this, but it's more like there needs to be some initial spark, some amount of physical attraction. There needs to be there at the beginning for a healthier, longer relationship. And then the emotional part, or talking to them, is what fulfills 70% of the continuation of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, what I'm trying to say to people is that you do not need the 10 out of 10 supermodels. You need a normal looking, decent human being who you could talk to, share life with, start a family together, share similar values. If you want to start a family together, if you don't want to, you need to find a person who has that same values as you. And yeah, man, like, don't fall for the online hucksters and grifters and pickup artists and shit, you know?
And that's why, like, VRChat and there's also, like, I've told you this before, there's like VRChat dating apps, or like VR dating apps, where like the pictures, it's like Tinder but for VRChat and other similar games, where the pictures there that you put on your profile don't really matter. So that's why, like, when I'm like swiping through them, so like on Tinder, like I would like to like look at the bio, but most of them don't put shit in their bio, so they just have their pictures. So I'm just like literally basing it off their pictures, like I'm swiping left and right on their pictures. While on this like VRChat dating app, there's two. One of them is called Never Met, the other is called Flirtual. The pictures really don't matter. And that's why most people in these apps write a bio, like write a description, what they like, what they don't like, what their hobbies, blah blah blah. I 99% of the time read the bios, and I'm assuming other people as well, because the pictures don't say much. Like, it's just an avatar. It's not them. So you immediately, so in Tinder, or like similar apps, you judge them based on their visuals, like 99% of the time. And VRChat dating apps, or you're actually judging them based on what they've written. That's a preview of or a potential preview of their character. So that's why it's like more good, like the VRChat and like VRChat dating apps, more so than actually like potentially trying to meet someone in real life immediately and showing their pictures.
Yeah, I totally see what you mean. No, I like that idea a lot, actually. You can always meet people you never expect to meet in these type of applications. You can always get out of your comfort zone and meet people that would never approach you, or you would never approach them in real life. And I think there's value to that. There's absolute value to that. Yeah, why not, man? Hey, if it works for you, I'm happy. Yeah, that's awesome.
And I think as well, like we've definitely heard like people get like a couple getting married that both of them like met in World of Warcraft, for example, or IMVU. But these are like very few cases, because well, it's just a game. But I think it's like in VRChat or similar games, I've met a few people. Like in terms of World of Warcraft, I've only heard stories. In VRChat, I've met those people. Like that's how frequent it is. Like that's how the rate is so much higher. Like I think maybe So, and the reason is because
it makes sense because
like I can talk with you right now. Like it's as if you're in my room right now. Like it's immersive.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's a social experience. In Warcraft, the mechanics are first, social experiences are second.
Yeah.
So therefore, obviously, here the number will be much higher for sure.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, IMVU
Also,
would have like
there's
a
something
much
to be
higher
said.
rate than World of Warcraft, because that is a social game. While in this one, it's much even like by magnitudes of much higher because of the immersion part.
Oops, I keep moving. Yeah.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Now, what is that risky thing you wanted to tell me? I think you were saving that as a last question, right? Is that what you were doing? I'm guessing. Trying to guess.
Well, I mean, it's risky depending on what you say, I guess. But so right now you're in Armenia. Like I have my own issues. I'm in Lebanon, and you know these issues, like politically, economically, all of that.
Yeah.
So what's the issues in Armenia in terms of like Armenia itself, its economy, and the issues that's brought down upon it because of neighboring countries? Like how are you living your life in Armenia? So you can talk about basically politics, religion, all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to get into politics a lot because it depresses me every single time, and I'm not gonna get into the political or the issues with the issues with the neighboring countries. I'll talk more about the social aspect. First of all, and economics. First of all, just like any other post-Soviet country, the country struggles with trying to provide a level of living that the West can or Europe can, right? Because post-Soviet countries have went through a lot, have had many hardships. Often infrastructure is pretty bad. Often there's many issues. I would say Armenia is one of the more success stories of those countries, where quality of life here is pretty decent. Internet is the best I've ever seen. Electricity never goes away. Water is pretty clean. Water is almost free, you could say. The issue we have here is there's not many work opportunities, and that is often the reason why people here always try to leave for America, for Europe. They always want to leave because there's not enough working opportunities. And that's largely because we live in a mountainous country with zero natural resources. When you don't have natural resources, you often don't have money as a country. When you don't have money as a country, you cannot invest in the businesses of the country. Now, our country is doing good. Recently, our tourism has skyrocketed like nobody's business. It's doing great. We are on a very positive trajectory. All we need is a peace deal with our neighboring countries, and if that happens, this place is heaven on earth. We just need peace. Once we get peace, we are on a very good path towards the future, given that we are one of the few democracies in the region left. So
yeah, I mean, you said it right now, you said the country doesn't have natural resources to make it worth getting, and yet for some reason neighboring countries want to take it for some reason.
Yeah, well, this gets into politics, but the main reason why our neighboring country is trying to steal territory from our country is because they have an oil pipeline, and they're trying to send that oil pipeline towards another country that will benefit them financially massively. And we're saying you can't do that. This is our sovereign territory. You can't just come and conquer our territory and put your gas pipeline. If you want to put your gas pipeline, you're welcome. Pay income tax. Pay tax to our government. But they're bullies. They have a strong, powerful military. They have Israeli weapons, to put it lightly. That's 70-80% of their weapons are from Israel. They're a bully, they have money, they're an oil-rich country that's a dictatorship. So, those type of countries often like to bully smaller countries around. Typical a non-ending story of many other examples throughout history. As long as I'm okay with starting a peace deal with them, but they need to be willing to do that. And hopefully we get some peaceful agreement. We get normalization steps taking place. And once that happens, we will be the most comfortable country in the world without any natural resources, and we don't need natural resources. What we need is to be left alone to do our thing. That's what we need.
Just a heads up, by the way, and I'm assuming you might be concerned and you might be filtering yourself because of me. This specific podcast?
No.
Absolutely no filter. The only filter is yourself if you want to have your own filter.
No, it's not about that. It's just I know. It's just that I'd rather talk about that another time because, recently what's happening with Palestine is very heartbreaking for me, given somebody who has grown up his entire life around Palestinian people and seeing what's happening to their families and their cousins. And I have so many friends who their family members are either imprisoned or have died already. And it's so depressing, and I'm just a very sensitive person when it comes to human suffering. I don't want any human person to suffer. Even if it's my enemy, I wouldn't wish they suffer at all. I want the world to live in peace. I might be a bit of a hippie on that part, but Seeing the stories of people, children suffering, dying, all of the other horrors that I'm seeing on Instagram. I just don't want to bring the topic up because my mental health is already really down because of these recent events that have been happening. What we need is a ceasefire. We need to pressure every organization, every country in the world to ask and demand for a ceasefire. That's what is needed right now, because 2 million people being sent to a desert is not a realistic choice that should ever exist in this world. Because I know this from my own ancestors, because my ancestors, 2 million of them in specific, were sent to the deserts of Deir ez-Zor in Syria, and many did not make it out alive. So what's happening in Palestine right now is exactly what happened to 4 of my great-grandparents, my grandparents and my great-grandparents on all sides of the family. And seeing what happened to them and what they experienced, I don't want to see. With the Armenian genocide in northern Syria, where they were forced into the desert without food, water, anything. All 4 of my grandparents, by the way. Either were refugees of the genocide or they experienced it, and I would never wish that upon the Palestinian people. So we need to demand for a ceasefire. That's what needs to happen ASAP.
I'm in agreement with you there. But in terms of the issues you have with your regional countries, Armenia itself, if left alone years ago, everything would have been fine. You'd be happy in the country, whatever. There's now maybe a ceasefire right now, if I'm remembering right. But the question is, from when there wasn't a ceasefire and until now, how was your life progressing in Armenia with all of that stuff happening around you?
Look, it was still very good quality of life. Everything was good. We're in a certain type of country where all the conflicts, all the stuff that happens on the borders, the fighting is always on the border. And if you live away from the border, you live a very normal, comfortable life. It's such a big country compared to Lebanon. It's a very tiny country, but compared to Lebanon, it's much larger. So, you live comfortably if you're far away from border skirmishes, for sure. So our government has done a good job at keeping us safe, keeping the fighting at the border and not at our footsteps. So who knows what the future brings, but whatever it brings, I hope the international community would act much faster and not treat every situation like they have with the Palestinians, which is utterly ignore them. And more than 10,000 people have been killed so far, and that is not a number that is acceptable at all. If there are terrorists hiding within my neighborhood, I sure hope my government doesn't bomb my entire neighborhood to get one terrorist. Okay? This is the fact that anybody justifies this in media is disgusting, is deplorable. If there is a terrorist inside a school, you do not bomb the entire school. That is not acceptable in any part of the world. So let's make that clear.
I'd imagine you'd have a much different life if you were living in Artsakh.
Oh yeah, I would have lost my house because 120,000 people have lost their homes and they will never get their homes. And on the contrary, they go on social media and they see random people they don't know moving into their houses, stealing all their items, selling off their items, desecrating the image of their great-grandparents on the walls, or the horrors that they're experiencing after losing their house and now living in abandoned factories, orphanages, 120,000 people. And nobody talked about this. I'm grateful that there's some coverage of Palestine. I'm grateful for that. But nobody talked about us and our suffering, and I understand why. Because we cannot financially benefit anybody in this world. It's a country with no natural resources. And when you don't have natural resources, when you cannot benefit somebody, nobody talks about you. So it's human rights. Human rights matters for those who can afford it, basically. is the world
Yeah.
we live in. Yeah.
I guess maybe I can end it on this. Why, like this subtopic, why do you think, for example, Azerbaijan, aside from, okay, sure, they want to have the pipeline, they're bullies, they don't want you to pay the government of Armenia taxes so that they can have the pipeline. So they want to take it, they want to like take the country, control of it, occupy it, because they want to, for economical reasons. But
Section.
there's obviously more reasons than that, than why they want to take the country as well.
Of course.
Because obviously, like from what I've seen, there's like an amazing amount or like volume of hatred from Azerbaijan towards Armenian people. So why do you think, what's the reasoning behind this like actions or like hate?
There's so many reasons. I would say that this level of hatred and vitriol did not exist during the Soviet Union. Partly why it existed after the Soviet Union is because the Soviet Union ended and there was a conflict. We won the conflict, and they just us winning the conflict traumatized them beyond belief. So much so that they made their entire national identity hating a certain group of people, or turning this certain group of people into boogeyman. You know what I mean? The boogeyman, right? They included these hateful speeches into their curriculum, their school curriculum. They just told their kids stuff that is completely untrue. The old generation remembers of a time when it was peaceful. During the Soviet Union, they lived there as neighbors, by the way, no issue.
Yeah.
But hey, this level of hatred has been because they have had in their entire history 2 presidents. One of them is one is father, the other one is son. That's the only 2 presidents they've had. So they've had a family, basically family kingdom rule, disguised as, well, it's not even disguised, it's the full-on dictatorship. And in order for this dictator to hold power, he needs a boogeyman. What's the best way to unify a group of people? You identify a threat, a unified threat, and you say those are the enemies, therefore we should stay united. And what that means is keep me in power and let's take out these enemies. Because if there's no threat, then people would look towards the ruling class and be like, why are we a rich oil country, an oil-rich country, and we are still living in shitty Soviet apartment blocks or villages?
Yeah.
Why is the president's daughter buying mansions from the Queen of England in the UK?
Yeah.
When there's no war, when there's no conflict, when there's no enemy, people start questioning those things.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
understandable.
Yeah. That's a very
so
short
I guess,
description.
yeah.
We're not even going. Yeah.
I guess the gist of it, like if I want to even gist it even more from what you said, or like the words to describe what you said is sore losers, propaganda, and the mixed in with like a layer of evil.
I mean, I wouldn't go far to say. I mean, I don't know about some of that, because every human has the capability of turning evil.
Oh yeah.
It's all conditioning.
Oh, that's
The
why I said
losing
propaganda.
thing is that, yeah, I mean, listen, at the end of the day now, because back then they didn't have the oil, now they have the oil, now they're rich, and now they could spend that money on the most advanced weaponry in the world. We are in a situation where nobody will sell us weapons, even though we have the budget for it, but nobody will literally sell us weapons, because guess what? A country with no natural resources apparently can't even negotiate anything regarding purchasing self-defense equipment.
Yeah.
This is the situation we are in. What we want is a peace deal, and once we get a peace deal, I think a lot of the vitriol and hatred will disappear in a matter of 30 years. It took 30 years to make them this aggressive towards us.
Yeah.
It's gonna take another 30 years to remove that level of hatred.
Yeah, like,
And there's also
it
many
took one
other reasons,
generation to
historical
make the hate.
reasons. It's gonna take also from our side. We have also been extremely angry seeing 120,000 of our people displaced. We are also gonna need a new generation to forget that pain and move forward, you know?
Yeah.
Largely the large reason why our issue with, for example, with Turkey, which is their relative country, in my opinion, it's the same country. Sorry,
Yeah.
but they're very similar on every possible front. So
Yeah.
my large issue with Turkey and why that issue with Turkey has never been resolved is not because I have some form of hatred towards Turkish people. That is absolutely not true. I've met a lot of Turkish people that I liked.
Yeah.
My problem is not acknowledging the most basic historical facts that everyone in the world agrees happened. Because you have your ego. If the day you admit it happened, we could put this behind us and move forward into having a good neighborly relationship with you. We can finally open our borders. We can finally travel to each other countries. We can trade, and we can become neighbors again. But it starts with acknowledgement, and that will never happen because the ego of a 90 million strong nation is on the line. There you go.
Okay. Yeah.
So I have similar criticisms for other countries, by the way. But Germany is a good example. Germany admits the Holocaust happened. They made a mistake. They pay reparations. They do a million things to correct that mistake. And now I respect Germany as a nation because as a nation, they had the humility to admit the mistakes of their ancestors and move forward. With Turkey, not only we have not seen that humility, we have seen a level of aggression that is extreme. It reminds us of the days of the Young Turks.
Continuation.
It reminds us of a continuation of the legacy of the Young Turks and to a larger part the Ottoman Empire, which is another thing. It's a whole other subject we can get into, and I would like to debate it with an actual person who's going to defend the topic. But it's a continuation of hundreds of years of social issues. So
Okay. Close this specific topic, then I got two quickie questions. But closing it off with one question about this topic. Right now there's ceasefire. At the moment there's peace in Armenia, I think, right? If someone wants to visit Armenia, what's the 3 top places they should visit?
That's a good one. That's a really good one.
How about this? The place that they should live at, then the 2 places that they should visit.
I mean, it depends what type of person you are. If you love the villages, live in Vanator, where I live. If you love the city, you need to be in Yerevan, but it's pretty expensive these days. If you want good food, that's in Yerevan. It's in the city. You have to go to Khorvirab, which is this tiny church right at the border of Turkey, where you can see the beautiful mountain of Ararat. And you can also learn about a certain person we have in our history who was imprisoned within that church, and his life story is all there. You need to go to let me think of this because there's just so many. You need to go up towards the Mother Armenia statue and see the city from top to bottom, from the height up there. It's beautiful, it's gorgeous, it's a very nice view. You have to see that. And then the third one, I would argue you need to go somewhere outside of the city and see and take a walk in a beautiful nature national park. I would highly recommend the Dendro Park in close to Stepanovan, the Lower region. Lower region is where I live. It's beautiful nature. You're gonna find wild mushrooms everywhere. You're gonna find cows and horses roaming wildly in the forest. It's very beautiful. It's very peaceful. It's very fun being in nature. Nature is everything. So you definitely have to go hiking, is what I would say. Go hike.
the one dish to eat.
Rapama. So, rapama is a traditional Armenian dish from the village of Sasun, which is now in Turkey. In Turkey, this dish is also done, but a little bit differently.
Yeah.
So, rapama is basically a pumpkin, like my head.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I'm serious, by the way. It's an actual giant pumpkin.
Okay.
What they do is they open the pumpkin and they take the insides out.
Uh-huh.
None of this was planned, by the way. None of this. Just a coincidence. So you take the pieces out, then you take rice and you stuff it in. You take dried nuts. You take nuts, you chop it up. You take dried fruit such as apricots and salor, which is, I don't know what salor is in English. It's a purple fruit.
People will figure it out.
I forgot. It's a type of berry. You cut these up. You dry these dried fruits and nuts. You put them in the pumpkin head like this. You open it up. You put it inside.
This is hilarious.
Some people, you put spices in. Some people put meat. I wouldn't put meat, my personal opinion. And then you take that head of the pumpkin and you put it in the oven. Okay? And you and you cook it for hours. And then once it's done, you take the entire pumpkin, you open the top, and you take out the rice, and it's the most sweetest, nicest, sweet, savory rice ever. It's so delicious.
Nice.
Yeah. That's it.
Oh man, now I want it. Okay, wait. Can we try the visa thing again?
No, right now you don't need to do the visa thing. You could just visit me anytime you want, because
3 months.
Corona's
right,
over. You got rejected because of Corona. Yeah, you keep forgetting you got rejected because of Corona, not because of you as a person. You can now come without the visa. It's visa on entry. You could just travel and come.
Yeah, once the money is right and once some circumstances are right, I'll definitely want to go there.
Of course.
Okay. You played, Alan Wake, the new one. That's good. But so, what's the next game you're gonna play?
Alan Wake 2. Oh my God! I'm playing Age of Empires 2.
Oh.
It's fun. It's so addictive.
And you're playing it because
it's one. Yes, because there's Armenian DLC in it. Fair enough. I'm biased. Okay, I'm a bit of a patriot. You know it. I'm a bit of a patriot. You know this.
Yeah.
And look, we never get the representation in games. Let me have this, okay? Let me have this. Thanks.
Yeah.
And I might continue Starfield after that. I don't know. We'll see.
Oof. Big words.
Very big words, yeah.
Okay, I guess like the actual last question right now is, since you don't play VRChat and we really didn't interact much in VRChat, we now I almost spend 3 hours now, and you're looking at the scenery, talking with me right now. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah, you're looking at the scenery. You're chilling with me right now, talking. That's if I'm with you in the room. You're seeing me moving around, and you're moving your hands as well. So what do you think of this experience?
Oh, I love it. It makes me want to spend much more time in VRChat, and I think we should do that. I think every weekend I should hop on with you and invite more friends, and we should just go on adventures in VRChat because this is fun. It's very fun. I love it.
I'm here every day, pretty much. Usually at night, but I can. I'm staying up way later these days, so I'll actually take up on that offer and I'll actually join you on a bunch of stuff. You got it. And before now, did your perception of VRChat change because of this time spent, or not?
Yes, because we always talk long hours on Discord together, right?
Yeah.
And what's changed is that there's now a visual aspect of it, right? So now there's this beautiful nature scene. And by the way, I've been staring at this nature scene for 3 hours. and I'm still not bored. I actually love this. Whoever made
Yeah.
this scene did a great job.
Yeah,
Except
that's why
that
it
low
was-
resolution
it's great.
bush over there. That's kind of suspect.
It's Unity.
Except that low resolution. It's Unity. What can I expect? Do it
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Unreal Engine. Use Unreal Engine, kids. Use Unreal Engine.
There is an Unreal
Listen,
Engine thing, but I'll give you a link later.
another day.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, it's
Nice.
awesome. I love it.
Okay, yeah, I think it's great. I think we can end it now. I'll put your YouTube link in the thing so people can click it.
Thank you so much.
Episode 0, I think it was great. I think it was a successful episode 0.
It's a
Yeah.
successful episode, and don't forget the grapama.
Yeah,
Okay,
drop 'em
bye.
Bye bye.
Come over to my country and eat grapama from my
Yeah.
head. I will never.
That was really
They will
funny,
never
like-
sleep again.
Like
Same again.
suddenly using your head as a food example.
Because it's an actual pumpkin dish. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's a coincidence. This was not prepared. That was a coincidence.